my phone ready to share it. Okay, we are live. I'm going to share this right now. I wish there was a way to do this. I just want to make sure that my personal friends can see it.
Hmm.
And okay, here we go.
Is there a delay?
It's because I'm sharing from my page. I'm almost
Okay,
done.
because I heard me clear my throat after I cleared
Mm,
my.
It's because you're hearing my phone. There.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. Good morning, everyone. As you come on, please make sure that um, you can share, sure, but also that you shout us out in the comments. So, how's it going, Miss Shirley?
I'm tired this morning, but it is self-imposed. I was up until 3:30 in the morning, decorating my house for the holidays. More specifically, so I'm having a few people over on Wednesday, which is my actual birthday. So let me just say this: I will officially be eligible for Social Security on Wednesday.
Wow.
Yes. So I think officially I can consider myself a senior citizen, but it's okay. I embrace it. It's a gift. It's a gift to be able to reach 62. So I don't know if I told you this, but my mother, my grandmother, and my aunt, my mother's sister, like they all died. They never saw their 47th birthday. My
Mm,
mother died at 46, and her mom and sisters died in their 30s. So when I turned 47, that was huge. And then every day after that, year after that, is
like a
truly a
bonus.
gift for me. So I embrace the 60s. I embrace um, AARP, even though I'm not a member, but I just, I embrace all the gifts that come with age. So, but all of that to say, I was up till 3:30 in the morning, just decorating. I'm having some folks over to celebrate my birthday. Um, so it's so funny. Luke, my husband, oops, he sent out the invitation, and via phone. And I specifically said no gifts. And so he sent me the text before the message before he sent it. And he put in caps, no gifts. So, I'm just kind of that way. One of my girlfriends said, you're always trying to control things. But, truly at this age, when people say your presence is my present, that's truly where I am right now. Just to be able to be with people that love, support, care for me, for my husband, to have the community that we have, that is truly a gift. So that's why I was up till 3:30 this morning.
That
And
is a level of commitment. Um, I am not going to show you what your living room looks like right now downstairs. Okay. The reason why I say it's her living room, y'all, is because she saw the potential of the space, and what I was not doing was like, okay, what's your budget? We need to do something in here. But this time I didn't even put a lot of stuff out because I messed your living room up so bad the last time. It's never been back since, really, and because I didn't take a picture before I took stuff
that's
down
exactly what I was going to say. You got to take a picture of the before, because you'll forget where things go. So
yeah.
lesson learned.
I don't think I'll be motivated to really do anything in that living room until Zion moves out. Seriously, because he's the main one that's always in there, and it just doesn't bring me any joy. But I have other rooms that bring me joy, like the one I'm in right now. So I don't really stress it.
So I'm going to move my head. So this is just one small area in the den that I did last night.
Yes,
So
it
very
just looks
simple, very simple. So
glorious and peaceful.
yeah,
Is that stuff you already had or new stuff?
it is. So this is was challenging. The first year that you decorate your home for the holidays, you don't know where you want to put stuff. You have an idea. But the years after that, okay, this went there, this went there. Uh, you know, I have stuff from my house, there's stuff from my husband's house, and we're now in this house for the first year that we're actually celebrating the holidays. So it's just been a lot of work trying to figure out where I'm going to put everything. And there's a lot that just doesn't work in these rooms.
Right.
So it's just been a little challenging, but it's a gift. I'm grateful. So enough of that.
Yeah,
You
you
do the
should
things that bring you
be.
joy. This brings me joy. And that's something my husband always asks me because he doesn't understand the effort. Like, why do you put so much effort and time? But it's what brings me joy. And he said, "Are you enjoying this?" I said, "No, this is work." I said, "But after when it's done and I can see it, that's when it's all worth it to me." Um, so I would
But
just,
was he up? Was he up until
no,
3 in
no,
the
he,
morning?
no,
Okay, I
no,
was gonna
no.
say.
He,
He's like,
he,
"I'm
he,
not, I can only go
no,
but so
no,
far with you."
no. He crashed and, so but he has his list of to-dos. I haven't given them to him yet, but he has a list of things that I need him to do to bring me to the end zone. So
Well, now, so before we move on, for I need you to do three things, okay? The first
okay.
one is tell me that I'm pretty because you said that before we went live, and I want everyone
Yes,
else
I
to
did.
hear the door.
I greeted you with hello, beautiful.
Yes,
So I don't,
every woman needs that in the morning.
yes, yes. So that's the first thing. Good
Mm-hmm.
morning, beautiful. What's number
Yes.
two and three?
Number two is now what we're not going to talk about is my hair. I'm still kind of trying to decide what to do. I'll do that when I talk. But number two is what are you drinking? And then number three is what are you bringing into the space today? What is your word for today?
Okay, so I don't want people to think that I am a lush because I have a very low tolerance for alcohol,
She doesn't drink very much, y'all.
but I do like alcohol. So today I'm drinking out of my favorite mug. This isn't
Mm,
this beautiful? Let me show it to you.
mm-hmm.
It's okay, let me get it even. I love this.
Where did you get
Wait,
that
wait.
from?
Okay. I've had this mug probably for almost 20 years. I bought this at an outdoor market in in Virginia. I don't remember what city. My brother lived there. It was near my birthday time. He flew me out to visit him, and we went to brunch, and then we went to this outdoor market, and I saw this mug, and I thought it was amazing. And it's a huge. I love this mug. It's my favorite mug.
You said,
But
is that hand carved? It looks like it,
I think so. And they're
or
holding
hand
hands
painted
and
or
they're
something.
dancing.
Yeah.
I love that. So I am drinking coffee because I need it with some eggnog and Kahlua. So
Ooh. I forgot to go to the liquor store yesterday, so I was a bit devastated when I woke up this morning. And what is your one what one word is on your heart this morning?
appreciation,
Mm,
appreciation.
hmm. That's
Yeah,
good.
appreciation.
That's good. Um, I want to announce that I'm going to the spa for the day right after this. I am
Okay.
meeting Karen, you know Karen,
Mhm.
at the spa. We're going to be there for the rest of the day. So I'm already feeling the relaxation like come down over my body. And I had a massage on Thursday, let's be clear. So I'm not going for treatments. I'm going for the ambiance there. I may get a body scrub,
Mhm.
but that's about it. But we just kind of floated the idea on Friday. We were like, let's just go. You know, we're always waiting for, like you said, we're always waiting for this perfect moment and
Mhm.
whip out our calendars. Okay, what are you doing on Sunday? And I told somebody this the other day when we reconnected on social media. They're like, we should get together. I said, let's pick a date now.
Right. Exactly. That whole let's get together. We should get together. That's one of the things that I've been very intentional on is not just saying we're going to get together, being very deliberate about it because the we are going to get together, the next thing you know, months, years have gone by and you've not connected. So, when you say that, let's get together, if you truly want to get together with the person or people, put it on the calendar, throw out a
Right.
few dates and just, hey, in your text, send a text right there. Hey, these are some dates that work for me. What about you? And commit to it and make it happen because if you don't commit, it won't happen. So
Mm.
we've been very intentional. We've done a lot of entertaining since, I want to say, since May of this year, with people, couples that we really want to connect with. And so we've been having dinners. And I'm not saying that that's what everybody else needs to do, but whether it's, hey, let's go for some coffee or let's go whatever, but just you've got to put it on the calendar. We're all
Yeah.
busy. Everybody's busy. Everybody has responsibilities and things that pull you this way and that way. But if you don't make it happen, it won't happen.
Right.
So good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Put it on the calendar. Okay. So I am drinking my
Ooh,
usual coffee today, but I ran out of my favorite creamer, which is Silk, the oatmeal cookie one. It can't be beat. There's nothing out there like it, especially in the non-dairy, like in a plant-based, ignore
mm-hmm.
this broken nail. But I they were out, and so I have vanilla and of the same brand, but it is not as good. Now, what I wanted to add in here was Cardi's whip shots because I was like, oh, I have some whip shots in the cabinet, and I could just put the whipped cream on top and
Okay.
with the it's has a little bit of vodka in it, but it's somebody refrigerated it, and it clearly says on the container, "Do not
Do not
refrigerate." And so
refrigerate.
I'm spraying, nothing would come out.
Okay.
It's a waste.
Okay.
So I added a bit of coconut rum instead, just
Okay.
a
I
splash of
like that. I like that.
some super pricey coconut rum I happen to have.
What let me see the mug. I still have
Okay,
one
so
in.
my mug is
Oh,
Queens. So it's funny that you
okay.
mentioned your mug because I am a mug addict and I have a whole non-Charlena decorated wall mount in my kitchen because I'm a hippie. I've accepted it. So my stuff does not look
Yeah.
perfectly,
You're
whatever. That's all a part
definitely
of my
you are a
style.
boho girl.
I'm a boho
You're
girl,
a black boho.
1,000%.
Black boho
I'm a black
girl.
boho queen, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't, once my girlfriend Tori helped me see that I was boho, everything
Mm-hmm.
else made sense. Really,
Yeah.
like about my whole personality and everything. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's all about not fitting in. And your Charlena type friends are gonna come over and be like, oh, I wish she wouldn't do that.
What?
Because
No,
it bumps
no,
against
no.
I'm
I
not boho
always
chic. That's the thing. I'm not,
no.
I could
No. I always embraced because you told me your style. We sent some. You sent pictures, and I truly believe when I came and just helped with some
yes, that's
things
true.
that I stayed within your style. I wasn't trying. I don't think I did. Now you can tell me because I know I can be controlling with certain things, just certain things. But I don't think that I was control. Was I? I don't think I was
Uh,
controlling. I don't think I tried
uh,
to turn your style into something else.
so okay, I'm
Go
just
ahead.
gonna be
Come on.
honest.
Yeah, be honest.
Yes, you are controlling with it, but
Uh-huh.
you're also right. And so it's like, and I know that I could say I wouldn't prefer that. I would like this instead. But I also know that I'm gonna like what you do at the end. And so that's the reason why I don't bother fighting it. So I'm not gonna walk in there and be like, whoa, this is not me. I'm so uncomfortable in this
Mhm.
space. No. Because I love your home. Your home, I would say, and your the same was true of your last house. It's a very unique thing because I have some friends who have so many rules that I'm not even comfortable really going to their house very much. And you keep nice things and everything is beautiful and perfect in every way, but you're not addicted or protective of your things. Like, don't do that over there. Don't touch it over there. Now, there's certain spaces you have where a person wouldn't even be inclined to do certain things in that space. Okay. But it's
Okay.
not, it's very comfortable, is what I'm saying. It's very chic, but also I feel comfortable and at home. And I can't say that about
Thank
everybody's
you.
living room. So, but yes, you are controlling.
A
Go back to
home
that.
is to be lived in.
It is to be lived in, and I feel that, but I
Mhm.
don't know where you guys keep your stuff. I can't figure out where is the stuff. When I look around at my stuff, which thank you that this is not a panoramic because there's just paper
Where
over here.
where do we keep the stuff? There's one answer to that question. I'm married to who I marry.
Married
You
to, I
know
know I
how
almost
it
said his
is.
name. It's the man. He's not going to
It's
go for any clutter
yeah,
piled up. Is
no.
that garage emptied out yet?
Actually, his garage is
His garage. Oh, you have your own garage space. I hope he knows
So,
what he's in for. I'm just
but
sipping
it's
my coffee.
listen, okay, you know what? Enough of this. Let's get to the meat of why we are here.
We don't want to be in this. We don't want to dilly dally. All right. So the word that I'm bringing into the space today is love, which is
Okay.
always a good word to bring. But I'm bringing it today because boundaries are love. And I think that when we talk about boundaries and think about
Mhm.
setting boundaries with all types of people in our lives, it's the act of loving myself, but it also in some cases can position me to love you better, because I have that boundary there. So I'm going to start first. I have a variety of card decks, and that when I was under my former belief system, I thought that this kind of thing was super wrong. It didn't matter what the card was, just cards themselves had a negative connotation. But as I've grown, I find them to be very, very useful to help you just set your thoughts for the day, or if you pray before you select one. I believe that God can help me kind of create chart a course for the day. And there have been
Mhm.
days where I pulled cards from multiple decks, and they all aligned, which is a great
Oh
way to
wow.
test it.
Wow.
Yeah, it would be like about three different things. And I have another
Wow.
specific prayer deck that has a
Mhm.
prayer on one side of the card and a statement on the other side, and I will
Mhm.
do a bunch of cards together, and it's fascinating. So, but for this morning, I'm going to pull a Soul's Journey card. Okay. And these are very brief statements. So, what I like to do is take a deep breath in and out, kind of clear my mind. And basically, I'm asking the Holy Spirit quietly to tell me what number the card should be. Okay. 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 17. Okay. All right. This is always good. This card says abundance. Oh, that's interesting. On this camera, when I turn it, you can. Mm-mm.
Mhm.
I am a limitless being, and I can manifest whatever I desire in this physical reality, which I really believe. We are without limit. Whatever we believe we can achieve, all and every other cliche
Mhm.
that people say but don't think that it's true. And I'm
Mhm.
going to see if there's a little book that comes with it too, where you can read it. I'm just going to see if there's anything more here that is interesting about that. Okay. All right, I'm going to share this. um Abundance. I'm a limitless being, and I can manifest whatever I desire in this physical reality. Always remember that God is all about creation. God says yes, the ego says no. In order to have abundance in all areas of your life, you must create the space of receiving and know you are deserving of anything your heart desires. The more you release limited thinking and worry, the more open you are to receiving. By embracing a positive mindset, you are opening the door to unexpected abundance. Now is the time to begin to live with the realization you are worthy of having abundance in every aspect of your life. All right, so I'm going to stop there and let me tie this together as we begin this chat. If you don't have boundaries, you can't get abundance, because there are things that are sucking the life out of you and preventing you from being able to be in a mindset where you have room for the things that you're really supposed to have. And so the boundaries are often, I mean, we could talk about why do we even need a boundary? Usually it's because somebody is encroaching. As a matter
Mhm.
of fact, I'm going to look up the
I was
definition.
going to say, look up
Share
the
that, Charlene.
definition
Yeah.
of
Hmm.
boundary.
Yeah. What is a boundary definition? Okay. All right. A line that marks the limits of an area, a
Mhm.
dividing line. Um,
How
okay.
about boundaries? Plural.
Boundaries, something that points out or shows a limit or end. It's a dividing line. Boundaries. I don't know if it's going to be different if we do the.
Because it might.
I'm just happy this is even a topic these days because I don't think that like our former generations thought that there should be boundaries. If somebody needs it, I'm going to do it, whatever it was. Okay, here's another way to put it. Boundaries are the emotional, physical, and mental limits we set for ourselves in various aspects of our lives. We
Mm-hmm.
limit who can access our personal and emotional space when we set boundaries. They
Mm-hmm.
determine how much others can influence us, use our time and energy, and affect our emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how can you get, it just goes back to what I said. How can you have room for abundance and the things that you're supposed to have in your life when you have other people who are not contributing to that? That's the key thing, because you don't need a boundary when somebody is contributing to whatever it is you're working on. But that determines how much others can influence you,
Mm-hmm.
use your time and energy, and affect
Mm-hmm.
your emotions. So you're talking about you want abundance in your life for 2025 and you're tired of this, that, and the third. Honestly, Charlene, I feel like December is a perfect time to examine your boundaries for the year, how things have gone across
Mm-hmm.
all relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we want to talk about specifically setting
Typically.
boundaries after a split, especially when you're co-parenting. But I did want to make it broad because everybody needs boundaries. You need boundaries, in my opinion, with your parents if they're still living and you're an adult, your adult children. Like that's a whole
Mm-hmm.
talk in and of itself. Setting boundaries with your adult children, very sticky because they're not people that you can cut off completely. And that's the thing, right? I think if we even went broader with it, that who does this apply to? We all have people that are in our lives, whether we like it or not, but we have to determine how much
Mm-hmm.
access they actually get.
So let's talk about using that definition of boundaries. And I'm glad you did that because it makes it very clear as to what boundaries are. Let's talk about in terms of, divorce and, this is a person that you've been meshed with for a period of time on multiple levels in terms of your life, your lifestyle. You talked about having children, so you've been meshed with this person and now you are unmeshing yourself. And where's the balance? Because I think that's what a boundary does, is it helps us to create a healthy balance of what our interaction should be with a person, or speaking specifically about divorce, with our ex-husband. So, or ex-spouse, not just husband, but your ex-spouse. So, um, let's talk about that. What does that look like? Why is it important to have boundaries? And what are some of the things that can cause us to not be able to create healthy boundaries? And I'll speak from my perspective. So so uh, when I separated and wanted to get divorced, and this is a general statement, I think for the person who is seeking the divorce, and especially since the person that I was divorcing was not this horrible person, and there weren't these horrible circumstances that created all this anger and bitterness, and oh, he's a blah 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 blah. No, this was somebody that I genuinely cared for. And so I think for me, there was a level of guilt, not because I was doing something wrong, but because I felt guilt because I was causing pain to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, I felt that I had this obligation to try to assuage the impact of my choice and my actions. And so I felt like I needed to take care of this person
Mm.
to a certain degree. Um, and so that is where I think and early on I did not have good boundaries.
Mm.
I was still, I remember, yeah, I think we were separated at that time. It's crazy. So I in the past would cook and I would cater and do events and things. And so I remember my ex-husband it was sort of a guy's night where they were going to be playing Rook. So if you grew up in a certain environment, you know what Rook is. So they were going to be playing Rook, and it was the fellas. And so and it was his birthday. So they were having they would have these all night Rook game parties. And so now I'm separated from this man. I actually made dinner. I brought the dinner over to the house of where it was going to be hosted. I got a cake and all of that. Like I did all of that uh, because it's just something that I do. But I just felt like, oh, it's his birthday. Why? How come I shouldn't do why would I not do this? And I really know now, looking back, that was just me feeling guilty about the pain that I was causing this person. So I'll pause there and let you make a comment.
It's interesting that you said that out of guilt. Well, I want to back up and say that I do think that establishing boundaries after a long, intimate relationship is next level. It's next level because you spent all this time taking walls down or trying to in that relationship. And
Good
now that
point.
it's over, you have to be
Hmm.
intentional about putting your guard up to either stick with what you said you were going to do in the breakup or whatever. It is a lot messier. And also, well, yeah, for what I said already, because it's so intimate. Like a friendship, you're not with your friend 24/7, 365.
Right.
Your friend doesn't
Right.
isn't accountable to tell you where they are all the time, and you're just not all up in each other's business like that. And I remember my first kind of wake up call around that was after the first divorce when we went to the parenting class together. So you know how you were talking about you guys left the court together like holding hands, which is so
Well, we
hilarious.
weren't holding hands. We went out to eat.
Okay. I thought you
Went
said you
out to-
held hands when you don't make me roll the tape back.
I don't
I could
think
have
I
sworn you
said.
said you were holding hands when you left the
You know
courtroom.
what? I'm going to concede because I'm 62 now, and the memory.
You did
I
say
don't think
you're
we were holding
eligible
hands.
for
I don't
some
think I
new
said that,
discounts.
but we did go
Okay.
out to eat
If I knew
afterward.
how to use technology, y'all, this is the moment where that other clip would show up where she said
You
that.
would throw the football flag into the instant
I
replay.
promise you, I really feel like there was some
Okay.
holding hands. But anyway, we went to this parenting class together. It was in that county. It was required, and when we were sitting there, that was one of the things they said that kind of hit me in the face. They were flat out like, "What your ex is doing is absolutely none of your business." And I was like, huh. Now, and also, I was in a very codependent relationship where I was used to, okay, today you have this, like just or
Hmm.
constantly being overdoing all that stuff
Hmm.
and taking care of him in a way because I not because he even asked me to. I felt like that was, I don't know, we just fell into that pattern. So now you're telling me that can't be in his business at all? What? You know, which is, it's like I wanted to be free, but then hearing the shock of it really is none of your business. I think that is a major kind of light bulb, especially I think for some women, depending on the nature of the relationship. And I think that's why some women, um, you know, tend to still continue to overdo for him after they split and continue to keep him involved, which a lot of guys are going to go for it because then they don't have to start figuring out a plan. They can just keep coming over your crib for whatever it is they need.
Or they'll receive it, they accept it because maybe there's the hope that they can rekindle the relationship, or there's a okay, if she's doing this, then maybe there's still a chance that things can turn around and we can get back together, when actually, uh, and that's the farthest from the truth. So it can send the wrong message. I think it does send the wrong message
Hmm.
for the person that has the hope of reconciliation.
Hmm. No, that is so true. Um, I do think that if you're not intentional about establishing those boundaries after a split, and I'm not talking about verbalizing them to the other person. You can do all this
Hmm.
work right in here. But if you're not intentional about it, something's going to happen. A situation or something is going to occur that will force you to address it, you know. And I also feel so I don't know how to go here, but um I want to talk about establishing boundaries when you're both single, after the split for an extended period of time. But I do feel like when you both get into new relationships after your divorce, that forces the boundaries thing even sooner. Because I do wonder, would my ex and I be more amicable or co parent better if we were both single? You know, would we, because that, when you add that other layer in, a new person wants to know it's over, it's done. You're not going back to her, him, whatever. And so you do have to be like, drop that boundary, And one of the things I did was, if my ex was ever going to be over here, I always told my guy, he's here, he's going to be here, he's gone, even though he didn't ask. I just never wanted there to be an issue of not trusting, you know.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're starting to see someone, that is something that will force the boundaries. But I think it's really good to examine yourself and see, what are the reasons why you are crossing boundaries. And I think that is important to evaluate what is considered appropriate for my situation. When you have minor kids involved, then then there are definitely things that will cause you to have to interact with that person, and that makes sense. But what we're not talking about the things that legitimately would cause you to have to interact with that person, especially when you talk about co-parenting. But even in that, there's still ways to create healthy lines of what's acceptable and what's not. But I think it's really good. I think it's important to evaluate yourself and see what's driving your behavior. Like I said, for me, it came from a place of guilt and feeling the need that if since I'm divorcing this person and leaving this person, I just don't want to kick him down to the curb. I just need to make sure that he's okay. I want him to be okay. And so
Hmm.
therefore, I was doing things that just were not appropriate for someone who is trying to it is not appropriate, nor is it healthy for either party. I don't think that it was good for him, and it definitely wasn't what would help both of us to get to um, a healthy place of having our own separate lives. So, I think really evaluating what is the motive behind your actions, what is driving your action, because if you don't know what it is that's causing you to stay connected to this person in ways that are not
Hmm.
beneficial, you
Hmm.
won't really know how to fix those. And I
Yeah,
think
because you can be done with the relationship, but you are still struggling to have a boundary, and you may need to, like my bestie Yolanda says, approach yourself with curiosity. Why am I struggling
mm-hmm,
to keep this
mm-hmm,
boundary
mm-hmm.
up? And
Yeah.
I'm realizing now I've never been good at setting boundaries. And the first time I really I do extreme things to put a boundary in place. It's something I'm learning about myself. It's very passive aggressive, I think, in a way that I didn't recognize, and something that I'm definitely aware of now. And I hope we get time to talk about, when you're in the beginning stages of a new relationship, you should be heavy on setting boundaries. And I've realized that that's another area I need to work on. But when it comes to the split of the marriage, I was hardcore. I was hardcore from the moment I said we were done. I didn't want there to be any confusion because it had already been decades of back and forth. And so it was like, you're out of the bedroom. Um, and which I'd never done in 20 plus years. If I got upset, I would always go to the couch. I
Mm.
didn't even cause the problem, but I would leave the bedroom. That's to me is another thing I would never do again, because I think it sent a signal that was not correct. But anyway, out of the bedroom, and then he came up and used the shower, and he's walking around in the towel, and I told him, this is a boundary for me. You
Mm.
can't use this bathroom anymore. There's a bathroom downstairs. And he was so stunned, like stunned, because I never had these boundaries before. I never had any guardrails, and I always thought of myself as a super tough sister.
Well, okay, so you and I, we talk real. I don't get that. I mean, so
Mhm.
you were still living in the same house, right? And you were still technically married, right?
You don't get what?
I don't get how you can tell someone live
Just say it.
who's living in the same house that you can no longer sleep in this bed. You can no longer use this shower. I don't know. Maybe it's the equivalent of asking the person to move out without asking them to move out. Maybe it's that. I don't know. Um,
Well, you
I,
make a
I
great point,
just,
because he could have said, I don't care what you say. I live here
yeah,
too,
that's
and I'm
that's
going to
what's
use this
surprising to
shower, and I'm
me
still going to sleep
because
in this
there are a
bed.
lot of men that be like,
Hmm.
you want somebody to take a shower, or you don't want to see me in here, you go use that bathroom. You
Hmm.
go sleep
Right.
there. So that's
That's
just
true.
that's a little surprise because there are men.
And
So
you know
I
what's
mean,
so funny? I said it in a very absolute, dominant, masculine energy type
okay,
way. Okay.
and maybe
But,
that
maybe and he'd also never seen me go to that
okay.
extreme. And so I think and he knew that he knew he didn't deserve to be in this relationship anymore, regardless of whatever's happened since then, and whatever his feelings may be about me at this moment. In that moment in time, we were in the truth of what had occurred
Mhm.
over the past few decades. And I had told him, just let me go. Like, I'm done here.
Okay.
Let me go. I had specifically said that months before we had the official
Okay.
divorce talk. I had told him, I just want you to let me go, because I felt like, because of, it's so weird, Charlena, because I knew it wasn't love. It was the codependency was so strong. I just felt responsible for him. So I never really wanted to leave, the relationship. And so, yeah, I did have to be pretty firm. And I'm glad he didn't push back, because I didn't feel like this was his home anyway. I felt like
Okay.
I did all the work to get in here. It just never felt like an us thing.
Okay.
And it wasn't because I was trying to take the credit. God, no, I didn't want it to be um
Mhm.
on me. But the boundaries thing is
So that was a boundary that you felt that you needed to set for yourself. You did it. It
I,
worked
I
out for you. It worked out for you. And what do you think it was that caused you to make that move, to make the like what was it that you said to yourself or realized that caused you to say, okay, you know what? I need to say this. I need to do this. This is what this relationship needs to look like right now.
Man, I think that it took me so long and so much courage to make a final decision, that I was like bull in a china shop at that moment. I was just done. I'm burning everything. That's how I felt. Like, I have wanted to be out of this for so long. I can't take another minute. You can't lay here. I don't want you to even accidentally brush against me. I'm just being honest. I have to share it honestly,
Okay.
because I think there are other women who feel the same way. I felt like I had faked the funk. I had tried all the things. I prayed all the prayers. I done all the things, and it didn't work, and I'm done here.
Okay.
And whatever is out there in this cold world, I want to go and find it. And so, again, he could have fought back on that. He could have fought back on how fast I filed for the divorce and
Hmm.
everything, but he didn't have anything left to fight with either. Was he going to keep running me the same lies, and or what, the same emotional manipulation? I'll say that. I'll just use that term. I don't want to call what somebody else or their intentions a lie. But an apology without change is emotional manipulation. I think we can agree on that. And so um, I also just didn't want to risk falling for it all again
Okay.
because
So
because
you
me
felt like
falling
you needed to do something very drastic.
very drastic.
Just because the length of the history and
Yeah,
experiences, you're like,
yeah,
okay, I need
just
to
a
have a
bit.
point where you have to draw the line. And that's
I
basically
have to
what you
draw a
did.
line.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah, and in that 2 years, Charlena, I just had no idea how much of a doormat of a person I am. It hurts me to say that out loud. 5 years
Mhm.
ago, if you would have told me that I was a doormat, because I was out here judging other doormats, by the way, and I was judging other door, and I've since found out that what I heard someone say, one of the teachers I listened to, you only see things that are also present in you. So the reason why I noticed the doormats was because, and sometimes for people,
Mm,
it's something they've already overcome. And so
mm,
when they see that behavior show up in somebody else, it's irking their spirit because they've overcome it. But for whatever reason, we don't connect it to ourselves. Like you don't realize you're having that awareness because you overcame it. Not always. You just see certain behavior. We see this with, the older
mm,
church folks, as they used to say, talking about so and so is fast. Tell us your history, Sister Brown.
mhm,
What was you doing in your 20s back in the 40s, to the
mhm,
50s, whatever.
mhm,
And so um but yeah, I was judging other doormats, not realizing I thought because I was barking all the time, because I was a fuss bucket, that I was actually accomplishing something. And then I had little things that I'd carved out for myself, and that for me, I had justification around all these things in my life that weren't addressed. You know,
okay.
and now is the first time I feel like every day I live in the truth.
Okay. So for you in your journey of setting boundaries, that was really the first hard boundary that you set, and that literally was like the catalyst to move you forward. And that's, I think that's a great point. I think that a boundary, not having boundaries, does not move us into abundance. And we talk about abundance, this is what you said earlier, abundance. Abundance isn't just, we're not talking about financial abundance, but just abundance in your life in multiple areas. And so when you have a boundary that you're willing to set, I think it has the ability to catapult you and move you along in your journey to get to the place that you want to get. I think if we don't set boundaries, it keeps us stagnant in a space. And so you were able to do that when you set that first boundary, or that hard boundary of, okay, not being in this space, not using this restroom. Like, you made it very clear. This is like the beginning of a separation, of truly moving towards the ending of this marriage. And so in order to get to that place, you have to set this boundary. So I think that setting boundaries can help not just us, but they also help the other person to move, and for the relationship to move to where it needs to be. And so so you did that, and that was the thing that put you sort of put you on your trajectory. And then from there, you went into the separation stage. So can you talk about the separation stage of your journey of divorce, and what were some of what were some of the boundaries you had to set as a separated woman? And let me just say this, that I think in the process of a divorce, the journey of setting boundaries, just because you set this one, don't feel like you have, you like, there's not going to be any other challenges of boundaries that you have to set. It is an ever uh, changing, evolving journey of setting boundaries because of different life circumstances that are going to come your way, that show you that, okay, I've handled this over here, but now this is what's on the table. And now I need to know, how do I address this? How do I set a healthy boundary for this? So what was your what was your separation period like, and what were some of the challenges that you had and the boundaries that you had to set in the separation? Let's say he's out of the house now. What was that like for you at that point?
Well, let me say one thing really quickly, Charlene. I always give this advice to women, whether it's a marriage or a dating relationship. Don't say anything until you know you mean it. Don't say anything until you know you mean it, because every time you go
Mhm.
back on what you said, you lose massive credibility with a
Mhm.
man.
Mhm.
Massive.
Yep.
You are always showing them your boundaries and limits, because I think everybody has boundaries to a degree. Sometimes your boundaries just not strong enough and water is still leaking in, or
Mhm.
whatever, analogy you want to use. But don't say it until you mean it. Because when you
Okay.
say it, because if you say it like from an emotional place and you're not really grounded in your decision, you're just going to change your mind. And
Right.
he's like, oh,
She
I knew
she
she
don't
would.
mean it. She
I knew
don't mean
she would take
it.
me
Right.
back. I knew
Mhm.
this would be whatever.
Mhm.
And so I encourage women, hold it, sit with it, do some inner work around the decision and confirm it within yourself. Because if you approach him from a calm, settled place, you're far more likely to stick to what you said. Because remember, when I shared my story, I had the chat with the. This is driving me a little crazy. I had the chat with the therapist, um, and I knew what I needed to do, but I didn't say anything for about a week after that. And so for some people, it might be longer than that, but it
Mhm.
was also a decision that I'd had in my mind for years. And I promise I'm going to answer your question, but I found something fascinating the other day. I was searching my email for something else, and I found a letter to my BFF. You know who that is?
Mhm.
From 2014, an email outlining that I needed to leave the marriage.
Mm. Mm.
And reading that back and his response,
Wow.
the back and forth, I was like, so I want to share that with someone. This was 2014. And now we remarried in 2008. In 2014, I was like, I can't, do this. But I had a 3-year-old son. And I
Mhm.
think that a lot of the reason why I stayed after that is because I didn't want to be a single mom with a boy that young.
Mhm.
But that was 2014, and then I ended up not actually going through with it until 2022. So everyone has their own time, and I have no regrets about that extra time. I
Mhm.
think it would have been harder on me in some ways, maybe easier in other ways, um, but I have absolutely no regrets. And it takes as long as it takes to be firm in your decision and to know within yourself, I
Mhm.
have exhausted everything here.
Mhm. I
Um,
completely agree with that.
and some people may need to do that first before they move into boundaries. But when we were separated, which, as you know, it wasn't even that long, he was in the house for about 6 weeks after, and I was pretty much constantly peppering him to move out because I know his personality, and he could have comfortably stayed right downstairs on the couch for indefinitely. I
Mhm.
knew his personality, and I did not want that energy. Like the energy in the house was super
Mhm.
bad.
Mhm.
Every time I would walk through the living room, I would see him just like kind of staring at me. We went through a Thanksgiving together with the kids, and it was so weird. He just kept trying to make eye contact with me, like looking to see, is there a chance here? So it was the little things I did, like not holding his gaze, being pleasant. Okay, great, let's do this, but not having any kind of sidebar one-on-one
Mhm.
conversation with him.
Not
Sometimes
being engaged.
not being engaged. He would text me from downstairs. One time he sent a text of something about loneliness and everybody has needs. I knew that was kind of like a pass. I really
Mhm.
thought about it a couple times, like, oh, I could let him come back upstairs just one last. And I was like, Cara,
Mhm.
either you're ready to be free or you're not. So self talk, reminding yourself, looking at the list that you told me to write.
Mhm.
Why am I not doing this? Having that handy and really just having a made up mind. But for the most part, it's like I put myself in a box and I just didn't come out of that. I didn't ignore him, but I did not engage.
Okay.
I stayed in this room the
Okay.
majority of the time. And then the other boundaries are probably it's probably a bit much to
So
get into.
when you okay, he's out of the house. right? He's out of the house
Right.
now.
Right.
And you have a minor child. So can you talk about that?
It's just been a terrible challenge. I feel like I'm just now getting to a better place with it because, for the most part, he was kind of just showing up whenever he wanted to. Oh, I'm coming to get him, and there was no kind of plan. My therapist had to tell me you need to pull out the parenting agreement and write this out. I never want to be that mom that's like, oh, you can't see your kid, and so
Hmm.
I never wanted to be on an official schedule, and still kind of don't much care if he's spontaneous with it. But that's also a boundary. Like, I don't know when you're going to be at my house. You're just randomly pulling in
Hmm.
the driveway. That's not cool. And the thing is, I know that some women, I know someone in particular who it feels like she's waiting for a new partner before she will have real boundaries with her ex. Please, let's put that
Ooh.
out there. Don't do that. Don't
Ooh.
have a new partner have to show up and your
Right,
plate is not clean. And
right.
now you're starting this new relationship, but you had no boundaries with the ex. Now you want to tell the ex what my man said, so you might, whatever. You should have that set up on your
Right.
own.
The boundaries aren't about another relationship.
No. No,
Let me
it's
say,
for you.
there are
It's to
some
you need to
boundaries.
clear
There
your
are
you need to
some
clean your plate.
boundaries that are
Yeah.
not about another relationship. There are some
Right.
boundaries that you need to have just because they're the right thing to do for the journey that you say you're on. If you are separating from this person, if you are divorcing this person, there are certain boundaries that have nothing to do with another partner. They're just about how you are choosing to define your relationship today. This is not your spouse anymore.
Right.
Um, there are things that you have to put in place that are in alignment with what you say you want in terms of this relationship between the two of you. It's not about another person. So it's about, now when you bring another person, and when you bring another person into it, even then it really shouldn't be about the other person. It should be about what you determine is best for your life right now. The fact that another person is in it, that does influence what's best for your life, but never put it on the other. Never wait for another person to come into your life to do what is the right thing
Yeah.
for creating your boundaries, and never make it about the other person if someone comes into your life. It should never be about, well, my man doesn't like or my woman doesn't like. No, no. It should be about, you know what? This is not, this particular behavior or pattern is not what is appropriate for my life right now. Don't ever make it about the other person,
Right.
because now because you're giving your power away you're acquiescing your power to somebody else. It's not about this person. It is about what is best for you and your life right now.
Well, and that's why I said clean your plate. I like to
Mm-hmm.
put it that way. If I'm,
Mm-hmm.
engaging with somebody new, we got enough to figure out between the two of us. I don't want to have to help you clean up some mess with your ex, or the relationship. I mean, listen, expand it to families. Somebody who doesn't have boundaries with their family members, and now you come into the relationship with this person, and there's all this mess over here that's not cleaned up, and now you have to make a demand on something that should have been dealt with already. So I mean, but I definitely think it's hard. I haven't figured it all out yet. One of the other things I learned is we see, the quote that says we see things
See things
as
not
as
as
not as they
they,
are, but as
but
we
as
are.
we are. Yes,
Right.
that's
And
one of
so,
my favorite quotes.
but you know what, Charlena, the twist on that, and you may have already had this in your thinking, is I was always thinking it in more of a negative way. The best way I can explain it is this: if I never, ever, ever lie, then I automatically think other people never, never, never lie.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm a person and I know that
Mm-hmm.
I'm trustworthy, I
Mm-hmm.
might be more likely to extend
Right,
trust to someone
right,
else.
right.
Conversely, I used to be accused of cheating. Why? Because you're a cheater. So you're
Okay.
projecting
Mm-hmm.
your behavior onto me. And what I'm saying is how I'm inverting that, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to make this super clean is this. if I may assume that because I have good intentions towards someone, that eventually they're going to have good intentions toward me, or that they do, and it may not be the case at all. And so that's one of the things that I learned this year, or last year, I think it was. I thought I was doing my ex favors to help him get on his feet, but he didn't care or appreciate about that. And so when I would ask for something in return, in my mind, he should say yes because of these things that I'm doing. He'd be like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, there are people out there in this world who are total opposite of what we're talking about. They have no, the people that I'm around, they have no problem setting boundaries for themselves. But because my boundaries are loose, I'm mad that you're not willing to overextend and set yourself on fire every day, just like I am. We should all be on fire, and it's their right to do so. And so that's why I said, if you don't put your own boundaries in place, drama will appear that will force you to address it and say, okay, I have to have a boundary. And I had to get to a place where I'm like, you can call me a bitch, you can think I'm a bitch, I
Mhm.
don't care
Mhm.
anymore. I'm not going to put at myself at a place of disrest, um, because I'm trying to be still continue to be super, super, super nice. I know my intentions aren't harmful, but if I need to come across a little mean to enforce this boundary, I will do that. And when you're coming out of all the people pleasing and stuff that I dealt with before, I never wanted to be perceived as,
So
you know,
I just
mean,
want
even though
to.
it's come out, I've been definitely been rude my fair share of times.
So I think that sometimes the behavior that we see in others isn't necessarily about how they want to treat us. It isn't necessarily that they have ill will against us. I think that, as human beings, we're all naturally narcissistic on some level. And I think that most people, there are some people who just are more, I'll say, selfish or self-absorbed. They're not as uh, giving, considerate of others as some people are. And so, while you may be a person that, in your journey of divorce, you're looking out for the other person, their inability to look out for you isn't necessarily just because they don't, or they have ill will against you. It's just that they could be more self absorbed and they're a person who looks out for themselves more than they're willing or able to look out for others. So, what's your
Yeah,
thought on
that's
that? See
true.
that?
You know what? Well, I will say this. I'm just going to leave it here. I think that people with narcissistic tendencies have no problem setting boundaries at all. I think that
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I
they have
agree
no
with that.
problem setting back because they
But
need to, everything needs to
okay,
operate within a certain world.
yes, that is true, but it isn't coming from a healthy place.
No, I didn't say it was
Yeah,
healthy.
yeah. They right. It is coming from a
I-
place of selfishness and
right.
self-centeredness. So,
Right. But I'm
you
saying, when
know,
you are used to dying on the cross every day for everybody around you, you have a very hard time setting
mhm,
a boundary with anybody. And when you meet, and I definitely met people who were worse. And I think that's probably why I didn't see myself so much. Just couldn't set a boundary with every phone call they get, everything that happens. They're here, they're over there, they're doing all the things and running around after everyone. I think most people who struggle with that, Charlena, they think eventually it's going to resolve itself, and it's not. And so they're like, I'm going to do this one more thing, and then this person will be on their feed, or this will be a certain type of way, not realizing that no, you are their backup plan. Like, they don't have an improvement plan. You're it. They're not working to get better, baby. This is work. This is the plan.
exactly,
You
exactly.
are their
You
plan.
are the plan A.
And you know what?
You
Oh,
and your
just
efforts and your lack of
listen.
boundaries. That is their plan A.
We're just heating up. We don't even have time to get into it. But the thing is, these people, man, you are you can't you can't set a boundary. They oh, I know what I was going to say. They're the first ones to get defensive. That's the sign. So, for example, if you're trying to figure out if they're just setting this fire every day to light you up and have you running around crazy, if you ask them, well, what's your plan? Okay, here's the temporary. I'm going to open this boundary temporarily. What's your plan? If they get defensive when they're responding, they don't have a plan. You're the plan. They're going to keep circling around to you every time because you have proven you'll do it.
And I think that you have to keep in mind, and I'm sure you've heard of this. I think there are people that are naturally givers, and there are people that are naturally takers. And I think that people who are not able to set healthy boundaries in various areas of their life tend to be givers, but they're taking that ability uh, to a very unhealthy place. So not all givers um, don't set boundaries, but I think that people who are givers tend to have a greater propensity to not set boundaries. And I think that um, unfortunately, a lot of times givers will attract takers, but not every but not every, and again, not every ex. When I look back at my ex, he definitely was a giver. We're both happen to be givers. I think for him, I think he did look out for the most part, except for like one area, he did not look out for my best interest. But that's a me and him thing, and I think we resolved that.
Thank you.
Um, but I think for him, a lot of his behaviors and or his willingness to accept the things that I was doing came from a place of him wanting to save the relationship and hoping that
Mhm.
it would save the relationship. It wasn't necessarily from he's a taker or he doesn't have my best interest at heart, but I think his desire to save the marriage was stronger than anything else.
And you know what? Takers will give a little bit. They will always give a little bit. And that's how you get fooled for a while. They'll put a little something on it, on every situation. And that's how you'll get, you know, tricked, duped into what they are offering. You know, I think,
Taker, I was not.
what did you say?
No, I just said if you're with a taker, I fortunately was
Yeah.
not.
All the givers need to get together and leave these take, but a taker is never going to date another taker. They're
Right.
going to see each other right away. They're going to be so
Yeah.
turned off because
Yeah.
nobody's getting anything. Two takers together, or either that, or it's the ultimate toxic relationship. It's that extreme toxic
I
relationship
think
where
it is
the
very transactional.
yeah,
They're very
high,
transactional.
at a very high level.
Mhm.
Um, we're coming up on time, and I'm going to close us out with another card. But I'm thinking, for if you watch the replay, put that in the comments. But I want to find a way for us to bring the audience up while we're talking. So I'm going to think about that because the same link that we're using, I can share it with a few folks and bring them on the stage temporarily to talk or ask questions or something like that. So more to come on that because I don't know if I want to put this link like totally out there in public or just have it and send it via messenger to certain
Okay.
people.
And so I want to end on this in terms of the subject. We just really hit the surface with this. One of the things I think that's important to talk about is your ex and the holidays, your
Mm.
ex and kids' events, your ex and those big moments of life that can cause you to have to be connected. And how do you handle those?
And you know what? Thank you for that because I did pull up a list. I asked ChatGPT about this. I'm going to share a couple of highlights from it. However, all of this is based on your individual tolerance. Like I can tell you my opinion. I wouldn't have my ex over for a holiday meal, right? But everybody has to make their own decision based on their circumstances. And some people say, "Oh, I want to keep some normalcy for the kids and things like that." And I used to be way prescriptive and crossing boundaries myself in terms of telling other people what I thought they should do. I'm not the one that has to live with that one way or the other. So I don't go that far anymore. But here's a couple of tips that I thought were good. Understand your needs and limits, which goes back to, hey, women, prioritize yourself in this moment. When you're thinking about setting boundaries, you are your own priority. You shouldn't even be thinking about your children even or anyone else. What are your needs and limits? Because if having your ex around certain places is going to stress you out, make you uncomfortable, you're going to feel drained. That's not good for your children either. So be clear about what you are and are not willing to accept in different situations, whether it's again with the ex, the work, such social, anything. What are you not willing to accept? And in these two things, don't share that. You don't need to make an announcement. Hey guys, I have a new boundary. Hey ex, hey
Mhm.
friends, I'm not willing to accept this anymore. I'm not willing to. You can actually just do the thing or you can handle it in that moment. And when you communicate it, communicate clearly and directly, expressing your boundaries in a calm, assertive, and respectful manner. Be specific about what you need. I would add to this, and I'm gonna pause, Charlene, after I say this. I would add to this, don't don't be like me. Don't be long-winded. This does not need to be a long conversation. Then setting the boundary is just as draining as if you didn't set the boundary and allowed whatever the situation is to occur. Just be specific and direct. Hey, can't have you here for the holidays. Apologies on that. It's not going to work for me, or whatever it is. And if they want to keep coming back, you don't have to keep talking, Cara, and everybody else. You don't have to keep talking. You can just say, I said what I said. And that's what I said. And when I tell you the amount of mental freedom and joy I have in my life right now by talking less, if I could tell my 30-year-old self one thing, that would be it. I talk less. I talk so much less. I had to learn how to speak up again, like professionally and everything. And well,
So
personally too.
let me say this. I want to, not necessarily now, I want to revisit the first part of the state of the commentary there about, if it makes you uncomfortable and how you should address that. I don't completely agree with the statement that, if you don't feel comfortable with it, it's not for you. Unfortunately, divorce does cause discomfort. It's just the nature of what it is. But we have to understand what's unhealthy and what's healthy discomfort. Sometimes you're going to have to see your ex, you're going to have to be around your ex, and it's going to be uncomfortable. But you have to learn, how do I deal with that? How do I handle it? You can't just say, well, this makes me uncomfortable, so No, you got to be able to identify what's the healthy uh, discomfort just because it's the situation. And if it's healthy discomfort, then you have to learn how to manage that and be able to identify that from what truly is dysfunctional and toxic, and therefore you are feeling discomfort. So I think that's definitely something that we can address, because there are going to be times where you're going to have to legitimately be around your ex, and
Mm.
there's nothing wrong with that. You guys are supposed to be in this place, in this situation, under the same roof at the same time. And just because you feel discomfort doesn't mean that, no, you can't come, or I'm not going to be there. No, you've got to learn how to handle that and deal with that. That's healthy. On the other times when it's coming from some place that's toxic, dysfunctional, definitely set your boundaries there. But you got to be able to know what the two are.
Okay. All right. I'll get with that because I limit anything that's uncomfortable, any interaction that's uncomfortable. So maybe I am going too far at times, but I don't know. I just feel like for me, I had to go to an extreme level and I really did like burn everything down. I was thinking about that the
Mhm.
other day. Like I kind of burned everything down, but I don't regret it. Okay, a couple more things on here. Be consistent. That's why I said don't announce it until you are settled in yourself. And I don't mean an announcement like the end of a relationship. Anything that you are trying to establish a boundary or a limit or something like that, don't speak it the first time
Don't
until
don't
you're settled.
woman-splain it or mansplain it. You don't have to give an explanation as to why you've made this decision and rehash it. You're not trying to convince them. You don't even have to convince them. You just do it. You
Just
just
do
do
it.
it.
And let me add on that, Charlena. When you say convince them, you don't need them to touch and agree with you on it. That was my biggest thing that just
Mhm.
brought me down is I kept wanting
You don't need a
folks to
consensus.
understand. Yeah, I wanted them to understand why I'm doing this and then
I need
agree
you
with
to
me.
understand.
I need you to buy in on this.
Buy into
We might
this.
never
I need to
get
be we need to
there.
be in agreement.
We need
No.
to be in agreement. At this point, baby, I'm in an agreement of one. Like I
Mhm.
don't even look for that anymore at all. I can be settled in myself and confident in my decisions, and I don't need a bunch of people to co-sign because that's who I used to be. I'm making a decision. Let me call these five friends, and if I get 4 out of 5, I'm charging for. No, I don't need to do all of that.
And it's,
So
what I think was good about me and you being on this platform is that while we took a similar path, our experiences on that path were different. And I think that it gives us the ability to give a different perspective. Um, I know for me, when I made a decision, I made the decision. Now, I will tell you, I don't know if I even shared this with you before, Cara, but I told my ex-husband about 2 years before we got divorced that we were going to be getting a divorce. Yeah, I did. That was because I just felt like I needed to just let him know to prepare the
I tried
water
that.
before
Yeah,
I made the move. But when I decided to make the move, I did it. And that's sort of how I've lived my life though. Whether it's the relationship or whatever, I come to the decision and I just make the decision. And I think my ex would probably say that I just do. But
I know, and I gave lots of warnings too, and still heard through the
thank you,
rumor mill that I
Christina, for that
yes,
comment.
yeah, I'm gonna touch on that in a second. She's gonna be here. She's gonna join us. She couldn't come today, but
Hey,
she probably can join
Christina.
us next
Yay.
next Sunday because she
Mhm.
would have a lot on this topic.
Mhm.
But I think he probably would say he was blindsided. So it's almost like why even bother telling them because they're still gonna hold out hope until the very end
Mhm.
anyway. If they don't want to leave the relationship, it's not really gonna
Mhm.
matter. Most people are not going to take that time to prepare. Um, that
But
just
I
led
think
me
I
on
did
to
that for me. I mean, I did it for him. I did. But I did it for me, I guess, because there's power in words. And once I put that out there, then it was sort of self accountability. You've put this out there that this is what you're going to do. Now you either, as they say, you need to either shit or get off the pot. Now
Mhm.
I stayed on the pot for like 2 years, but that was my exit plan. I was putting my exit plan in place, and I knew the situation again. I wanted to have peace over position, so I needed to give it time. Um, so anyway,
Yeah.
that's
And
that.
you know what? I want to tie in. I have one more thing to share from this list, but I want to tie back in the love. What I want us to do that the word that we chose. Um, So I'm also reminding myself of that right now, tying back in because a boundary is love. It's love for yourself. And
Hmm.
also it can be love for the other person because I am limiting you from the ugly parts of myself that will show up if you keep crossing this boundary. So I could call it love that way. But I want to look at what Christina said because it took me a few times and it took me a few times of reading this to for it to sink in that wanted their validation for your decision to choose you. So yeah, I wanted other people to approve of my decisions to
Hmm.
choose myself. It's even crazier when I repeat it back. It shows that I needed something external in order for me to feel like worthy, I guess, on the inside.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's kind of how that's how I'm interpreting that, Christina, and that's how I feel about it.
And I think that that statement also causes self reflection, can cause one to self reflect and ask, why did I need the validation of someone else or of him?
Hmm.
You know, as I shared, when I shared my story, I just made my decision. I didn't give a rat's ass what the people at church thought. None of that. I just made the decision, and I was willing to deal with the consequences of the decision. And so, and that's an interesting statement again. Like, why do you need the validation of others to choose yourself?
Myself, yeah, I know that's why I said
And
join
that's
us next Sunday
Yeah,
with
that
Christina,
goes
you
that's right
guys,
in
because it's
alignment
going to
with
be fantastic.
boundaries. That's
Hmm.
that's right in alignment with boundaries, because
Hmm.
boundaries is you validating yourself and saying, this is what's best for me, this is what's best for the situation, and I am choosing this,
Hmm.
and I am moving in this.
And let me say this. I don't think men sit around talking about boundaries. Now, there are some men that struggle with it, especially
Mhm.
I just talked to a girlfriend who's the husband, they struggle with the in-laws and him having boundaries with his family. But I think women are taught that we're supposed to take care of everybody and
Mhm.
everything. And so
Mhm.
boundaries is just massively more difficult for us. Now, another tip that's on this list of mine is setting consequences. And this first bullet is so good. Decide in advance what will happen if your boundaries are crossed. So one thing somebody could
Ooh,
do,
that's
if I was
powerful.
to give a homework assignment, I don't have a pen handy, but I would take a notebook and write down what whoever the person is, and I would write down what are the boundaries that you need in this situation, and then what are the consequences. Like, you need to imprint that on your brain in advance. You don't want to wait for your boundary to be crossed and then now, because what you're going to default to is fussing or some kind of passive aggressive behavior or whatever. So if my, like, for example, if my boundary is when I'm in conflict with my partner, I don't want to be interrupted, then the consequence is I'm going to tell my partner, if you continue to interrupt me, I will need to leave the conversation. You can do that and be in calm as day. Like, you don't have to be fussing or hollering or yelling or anything. But if you can listen, one of the things that I can't handle or don't prefer is, in my new language, I would say it that way. One of the things I don't prefer is to be interrupted when I'm sharing a point, because it's really important that I hear you and I also want to be heard. And so if you continue to do that, I will need to leave this conversation. You can very calmly give your consequence when it's appropriate for it to be shared out loud. But then you also need to do it. Hey, listen, I might have mentioned to you, you might have heard me say that if this continues, I'll need to leave the conversation. So I'm
Mhm.
going to go. Let me know when is a better time for us to talk about this. Now, one other thing on that, especially if everything I said just sounds weird, especially in the language or whatever, it ain't a one and done, because the other person's not on the journey you're on. So just because you said that one time doesn't mean it's going to stick. And now they're going to listen to your boundary and never interrupt you again. You may have to say those, do whatever the consequences
Mhm.
are, may need to be enforced multiple times. Hey, I
Mhm.
don't take phone calls after 9 p.m. Sorry. If it's an emergency, you can do the following, but that's your boundary. If the person continues to do it, guess what it means. If you keep giving a boundary and somebody's not doing it, they don't respect you at all. They don't take you seriously. Like, it
Mhm.
shows a lot of things, and it ultimately it will show you what to do with that
Mhm.
relationship,
Mhm.
whether it's present or a former
Mhm.
relationship. And I think that the co-parenting thing is just immensely challenging because you're not together anymore. So the person doesn't have a motive to behave better, because of the relationship. And believe it or not, people operate not in the best interest of their children every day a week, every day of the week, and twice on the weekends. They do things that do not benefit their kids.
Yes, we do, don't we?
So it's up to each one of us to protect, the space that we're in. I think that's the last one I wanted to share from there. There was a ton of stuff on here, but I thought the setting consequences for yourself, because you're going to experience those consequences the most. If you don't set a consequence that involves the other person, you're going to be dealing with that
Mhm.
all the time because you set
Mhm.
this so-called boundary, you made your big declaration, and now here you are 2 days later doing the very thing that you said you weren't going to do. That goes back to what I said initially. You didn't take enough time to get grounded in the decision yourself, and that's why you keep wavering. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, especially in an existing relationship, you almost can't recover from that. Once you keep, giving another chance and doing all those things, we don't have time to get into that. But I would tell the
Yeah,
younger
so
women,
we
listen, you
definitely
can't
need
really
to
come back from
explore.
it.
We definitely need to explore this again because it's easy to say set a boundary, set a boundary, set a boundary, but I think there needs to be steps in terms of how do you build that muscle. Like if that's not something that you're accustomed to doing or that you're even comfortable in doing, how do you build that
Mm,
muscle to where you're willing to even to set a boundary and you're willing to put in consequences of um, the lack of respect when someone is not honoring that. You know, I mean, it's easy to say, just do this, just do that, but how do you do that if that's not if you're not someone that's been accustomed to advocating for yourself? Then uh, how do you how do you start that? How do you build that muscle to advocate for yourself, to create a boundary? So, I think that's,
yeah.
I don't want to, I think I have, I've been fortunate, just, I think it's just based on my makeup of who I am, that I can pretty much,
She's
I
very good at this.
make a decision and then that's
This
what
is
it
all
is.
this is all for me. She doesn't have the struggle. So guess what? You're gonna like this, Charlena. We're definitely going to continue this talk next week. We will have Christina on with us. She is a licensed psychotherapist, by the way, so we can have a professional here.
Yay! Good,
We have a
good. So
professional
she
here
can
now.
get. So Christina, if you're here with us still, you can come with some giving our audience a tool bag of being able to set healthy boundaries. You know, yes, it takes practice. She says role play is helpful with a safe person. It may
She can
sound
do
hokey,
that.
but it
We can role
works.
play next week with
Yes. So
me,
thank you for
me, the
that,
sucker.
Christina.
I'm the sucker. She can help. She
We
can show me.
we are definitely going to be looking for your expertise. I just don't want us to assume that everybody is comfortable with the things. It's easy for us to say, do this, do that, do this, do that, but how? We want to give the tools of how to do these things that will
Mm.
lead you to success. So thank you, Christina.
So listen, we're going to go, but I want everyone to take that assignment seriously. Take some time. Don't rush yourself. Sit down with a piece of paper and think about the areas. If you want to know where you need boundaries, write down the areas of your life where it's out of control. Where you're feeling out of
Out of
control, where you're
control.
feeling
Mhm.
helpless, things are not going well, people are
Taken
constantly
advantage
approaching,
of, where you feel
taking
like you're being
advantage
taken
of all
advantage
of
of.
that. Write those
Yeah.
areas down, and you can start with you can also start with some consequences over here, and then next Sunday when Christina does the role play with us, you can use your list that you've made and figure out kind of how you would navigate some of those conversations or situations. I'm going to do a better job promoting this because there will be some people who may be able to come on live, also either participate in the role play or just share a little bit of a boundary situation that they have, and we can talk through how do you do that. And I know we've been focusing a lot on the marriage and the divorce, etc. One thing I've learned though, Charlena, is how we do one thing really is how we do
Mhm.
everything. Because
Mhm.
it was through my divorce that I realized that I was not only in a codependent relationship with my ex-husband, my whole team that works for me was codependent.
Mm.
I was creating this pattern everywhere, and in some ways doing it with my children, but for whatever reason, not as much. And so, if you can fix it and practice that muscle, build that muscle up in one area of your life,
Mhm.
it will be much easier for you to do it in others. And
Mhm.
and if you don't do this work, the passive aggressive nature is so strong, and then you're
It will
acting out
come
at
up.
work, and you
Right.
just flip out
Right.
one day on people, and you get a reputation for that, and all of
Exactly.
that is happening because you don't set boundaries early. And I had to do it at work just last week with some my I felt like somebody was overstepping in leadership, somebody above me, and I sent them a message saying, please let me know if anyone has questions regarding my decision. And I felt so proud of myself for
Mm-hmm.
making that simple statement, which wouldn't even sound like a big deal to other people who can just drop a boundary everywhere they go. But I sent that message on the teams, and I sat there like, huh, thinking that the sky was going to fall. Am I going to get written up? And nothing happened. I was like, well, and so it's like we think that this big, I'm finally going to get a backbone and everything is going to collapse, and it doesn't. So, but there's so much more to talk about here, because when I burned everything down and then I had to do boundaries with, I did have to do the boundaries with my children who were used to me being a certain way. It was very difficult. I was told, you're not a good mom, and I'm saying there's a lot of guilt that comes with that. But I think we can talk about that more. Let me share this one last tip from Christina. Areas where you feel enraged, that might show you a need for a boundary. So consider that in your homework assignment. If there are areas where you just, every time you think about that thing, you're angry.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's because you're being taken advantage of. And instead of us standing up and fixing it, we just expect other people to just behave. No, they're not going to do it. They're not going to act right. You have to put a boundary out there and be willing to be the bad guy indefinitely.
And maybe when you're being the bad guy for others, you're being the good guy for yourself.
That's it. And and that's okay. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay to be the good guy for yourself, because we don't think that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's our responsibility to keep everybody else warm. If I'm out here freezing, who cares? All right, good. So we're going to bring this to a close because we're over time and the spa is waiting for me. I didn't intend to be there super late, but I'm definitely gonna
What
get
a
my
beautiful
relaxation.
Sunday it is. Thank you for joining us. It has been amazing. I don't know what everybody else has on their calendar for today. I'm back to the decorating and football. Um, and so I am in Florida where
Yeah, this is she's like beautiful day. I'm like, I think it's about 30 degrees here. Hey Siri, what's the temperature
well,
outside
maybe
right
one
now?
day I'll show everybody the view that I have. It's beautiful here. But what has kicked off this this hour, this hour, Cara was welcoming you with your beauty. And again, thank you for creating this platform. It is our desire that this can be a a place that can help bring growth and healing. This isn't about views or clicks, but this is really about empowering people in their lives. And that's what we want to do. And that's what we're committed to doing, and just sharing our journey, bringing others that can share their experience, their knowledge, and their expertise like Christina, that can just help us in this journey called life. We're all just, trying to we're not just trying to get through it, we're trying to live it in abundance.
Yeah,
Yes.
abundance. That was our word. So that was our first card. So
Mm-hmm.
now I am pulling from this new deck I got, Love Yourself, How to Love Yourself cards for it's a deck of affirmations. And I mentioned at the beginning of this episode that I have a variety of decks that I use to kind of set my head for the day. I haven't used them in a while, but this is called a dreamer's deck, 40 affirmations for pursuing your dreams. This is about the soul's journey. The abundance card came from that deck. I got all these on Amazon. So they are not tarot cards. To put that out there for the Christians that are listening and alarmed, like, I got to change this channel. I don't know what kind of witchcraft area, and
Woo,
that's not what this
woo.
is. Okay, but I do. When I pull my cards, I do like to ask the Holy Spirit to show me what I need to see for the day with a breath. So I'm going to do that, and then we're going to do our closing
Breathe,
breath work.
breath.
Okay.
Mhm.
4. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love this. I trust the intelligence within me. We can definitely tie that to our boundaries. Um, there are no problems that do not have a solution. There are no questions without answers. There are no problems that don't have a solution. There are no questions without answers.
Mhm.
And I trust the intelligence within me. So if you're like me and you struggle with boundaries and people pleasing and all those things, a lot of that is coming to you because you don't trust yourself. You
Mhm.
at some point in time, you got to do your own one-on-one therapy, like I've done, to figure out when did you not stop trusting yourself? When did you never trust yourself? When did
Mhm.
you
Why?
why? What are the reasons
Mhm.
why you don't trust yourself? Because if you don't trust yourself, then you can't trust any decision that you're making about anything. And you're going to be like me. You're going to need this council of 5 people to co-sign anything that you do,
Mhm.
because you don't trust
Mhm.
that what the Holy Spirit is, which is what I believe is telling you in here, is actually correct. You don't believe that. And that's why you need all this other validation. Am I pretty? Am I cute? Am I talented? You need people to tell you that all day long.
Mhm.
And I'm telling you, it takes work, but you can be free. Because when I wake up, I got on here, I don't have like the perfect outfit on, and my lighting, everything is not perfect around me, but I know that I'm pretty fantastic. And I believe that like fully
Mhm.
from the inside.
Mhm.
My confidence has grown, but you
Mhm.
have to do the work to
Mhm.
learn how to get
Mhm.
the messages that you
Yes.
need from in here. And
Yes.
that will help you stay firm to your boundary, even when the house is burning to the ground, because in here, you know that you made the right
Mhm.
decision and you're at
Mhm.
peace, even in the midst of chaos.
Mhm.
Even in the midst of chaos. Okay, let's get grounded for our breaths so we can go on for the day. All right. So you're going to want to make sure you're on, it's called like your sit bone, but make sure you're sitting properly on your pubic bone, basically. And then you will make sure your back is up straight and just relax. The reason why we do this breath work at the very end is really we just want to inhale all the good things that we learned during this conversation today. Every good thing. We may also be seeking additional clarity around the boundaries that we need to set, or whatever we need to absorb. It's different for every single person. And then on every exhale, we're just pushing out anything that would block us from doing the work that we need to do to establish boundaries or to get clarity around boundaries. And there could
Mhm.
be old programming within you, things that you've heard that are not congruent with the work that you're doing now. And so we want to exhale all of that away. And so I'm going to count you in. We're going to do a box breaths of 4, 4, and 4, where we inhale through the nose for 4, hold for 4, and then exhale for 4. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, and then exhale through the mouth, pursed lips. Okay. Just relax, come to stillness. And while you're relaxing, just want you to think about your breath. Be thankful that you have breath in your body.
Mhm.
While you're calming your body down, just think about your breath. This is also a time to kind of clear your mind, any other thoughts that you're having about anything else. Focus on your breath instead. You can see the thoughts, you can feel the thoughts, but you don't engage them, meaning you don't try to solve the thoughts or follow them wherever they are. Just notice. Notice how you feel in your body and get ready to inhale. And we're inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath. 2, 3, 4. And exhale through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4. And relax. All right, let's do the second breath through the nose. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath. 2, 3, 4. And relax. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. And relax. Okay, for this last breath, we're actually going to do something different. You're going to do the same inhale. And then when you exhale, you're going to let it out suddenly, and you are pushing out all the past. Every time that you didn't set a boundary in the past, every time that someone encroached on you or took advantage of you, not having the foundation that you should have had, you got to let all that go so that you can work on what you need to establish for yourself before we come back together next Sunday. So we're going to inhale, and then you're going to push it out loudly. You don't feel that you need to be quiet. So inhaling, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it, 2, 3, 4, and let it out. All right, and open your eyelids and come back. So I love that breath right there. When you're having a stressful moment, use that third breath that we did, but still take your time on the inhale, because the reason why you're exhaling slowly is to allow your body to calm down. It brings your body to a place of calm. After the breathing, you'll always feel calmer. But sometimes if there's a lot of stress or something extreme going on, it feels good to let it out, especially if there's been some anger, that boundary was crossed, whatever it may be, use that breath. So thank you. We are way over time, but we love you guys so much, and join us next Sunday. We're going to talk about a little bit more around boundaries. We might be spontaneous, kind of see where it goes. It's going to be a great time. Charlena and I will be joined by Christina Cooper next Sunday at 11. Okay. And pretty soon, we're going to get some advice stuff going, get other people on. And so very happy for your time today, and have a great week, everybody.
Yes.
Bye. Thank you, Charlena.
Bye.